Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is good to be here talking to you again. And as you know, I'm coming to the end of my mini cut, or if you didn't know, now you do. And obviously I've ran many of these and we've run with lots of our clients, and we have our group coaching, the mini cut movement, where we've run hundreds of people through this. So we have a good idea about what you should and should not do during a mini cut. So that's what we're going to go over today, the do's and do nots of mini cutting. And I'm going to run some kind of training footage in the background, maybe a sneak peek on how my current physique is looking. And this is going to give you the answer of, is in a mini cut even appropriate for you? And if you are to do one, how are you going to get the best results from it? That's what we're going to go over today. So the first do is you do want to get into a large calorie deficit, losing on average about 1% of body weight per week. Now, you're going to lose a little bit faster than that at the start when you drop off this kind of mass bloat, I would call it. That could be closer to 2% of body weight loss. But as you go through the mini cut, you'll probably be closer to 1%. And 1% rate of loss is darn aggressive, but the mini cut is short, so we can get away with quite an aggressive rate of loss. If you do not want to go into an aggressive deficit, mini cutting probably isn't for you, because like I said, it's not very long. So if you want to lose closer to 0.5%, somewhere around that of your body weight per week, you're going to be in a smaller deficit. You're just simply not really going to lose very much in a 3 to 6 week period, which tends to be how long mini cuts go. So I would advise you to go through maybe a 10-week cut, where maybe you diet for 5 weeks at a time, take a deload, maybe a diet break, and then continue depending on how you're setting that up. But that will be more sustainable. And actually, that brings me to a point of mini cutting that I didn't have noted down. But mini cuts are really like quite an advanced tool. And if you're someone who's more so just kind of trying to be healthier, grow a bit of muscle, you're not super serious about this endeavor, maybe you're not listening to the channel, most people watching are pretty serious, but if you are that person, recognize that in yourself and recognize it's okay to slow the process down if it's more sustainable for me and I enjoy that more. So that is the first do and do not. Next up relates to training. We want to be training at what is your typical MEV, minimum effective volume. So the level of volume that causes real efficacious growth. And that is probably where you start most of your programs in terms of week 1. So that kind of level of volume where you're getting all right pumps, a bit of disruption, maybe a bit of soreness going on. You feel like you come out of the gym and you've certainly trained, but you've got more in the tank. That's actually where we want to train for the mini cut in for itself, because that's therefore probably going to be about maintenance volume whilst you're in such a big calorie deficit for that period of time, but you can get away with that because it's a short period of time. And so you do want to train at minimum effective volume and keep that pretty static. And basically you do not want to go too high or too low in volume over this period of time. Like I said, if you needlessly go higher, and it's needless because you're just looking to maintain muscle during this period of time, which you can with the lower volume, you just risk not really feeling your best and maybe not seeing what could happen in terms of a resensitization to training volume coming out of it, so you can kind of get away with training with less volume in your muscle building phases. And then if you train with too little, you pull it back too far, you could risk not meeting the volume threshold for growth and actually seeing some muscle loss. So it's just good to know that where you typically start your training programs in terms of muscle growth, that's about where you want to keep your set volumes. And like I said, that's that medium, lowish, medium kind of pump disruption where you feel like you had a good session, but you certainly got more in the tank, wasn't death. And the good news with this too is as you progress through the mini cut itself, fatigue accumulates very rapidly because of the large deficit. So you quickly won't find that you can actually recover from such high volumes if you push them too high. This next one is really simple and obvious, but many people don't really listen to themselves about it, and they have in their mind, I should be doing a mini cut at this time. Whereas actually, should you? And that is the question, because I have had previous times in my off season where I thought I should be doing a mini cut psych. I've gained a significant amount of weight and I could lose some body fat this time, but it wasn't appropriate for me because mini cuts really should be used to potentiate your appetite. They're actually almost implemented as like a yo-yo diet rebound on purpose. They are to potentiate more massing. And so now when I implement mini cuts, I personally literally have to do it. My appetite's so bad, I need to do a mini cut. I don't do it for body fat reasons or things like this, particularly because my body fat doesn't get out of control, but that's my kind of skinny boy genetics speaking through. But if you're super hungry, so do use it as a way to potentiate your appetite, and therefore do not go into it where you're already feeling, if you've got any sense of diet fatigue, so like food focus, like you're regularly quite hungry through the day, your food selection is very diet based anyway, those are all signs that you're not in a strong, healthy position to enter a deficit. And it's kind of like you're starting a race with a puncher. Like you're going to try and travel fast on that race, and you're just going to have to go into the what's it called, where they go and repair your tires and everything sooner rather than later, the pits, sooner than you would like. So do start a mini cut, in the attempt to potentiate appetite because your appetite's poor. Don't do one if you've already got like a killer appetite. It's probably not ideal for you right now. So we already talked about body fat, and this one's relatively obvious as well, but not everyone sticks to it, and I've seen many people get this a little bit wrong, including myself. So again, what are we doing the mini cut for? One is appetite and the other one's body fat, right? So if you do not, like you're already in a productive range of body fat, and what I talk about that as, we seem to have these lower and upper thresholds for where we feel our best, whereby if you try and go below a certain level of body fat or above a certain level of body fat, it's really like trying to push through mud. It's real challenging. And so we have this productive range, which might be like a 10 to 15 pound body weight range for you. And if you're in that productive range, it might not make sense to do a mini cut. Now, if you're near the top, maybe, but if you're certainly near the bottom there, it's not a wise move. Equally, so do be in a position where mini cutting is going to take you back into that productive range of body fat and buy you plenty of massing time. The do not is, if you're already well within that range, maybe near the bottom end of that, where you're still very lean for you, mini cutting probably isn't appropriate. And equally, if you're way above and you've pushed very high in terms of body fat and body weight, a mini cut probably isn't enough to get you back into that productive range to allow you to mass for any significant period of time. So you might want to do a longer cut at that period of time. So body fat is important. We need to lose some. In certain scenarios, it doesn't make sense to go through a mini cut. This next one is super important because, as I've mentioned already, a mini cut is aggressive. You're in a large calorie deficit. It therefore is very stressful. So do maintain low stress and really good sleep, because if you don't, you'll certainly be at risk of going into the pits earlier than you think necessary, and it's just not going to end well for you. If you have a high stress period, whether that be exams, work, kids, anything like that, that means going into an aggressive deficit is like burning the candle at both ends. It's not going to end well for you. So do go into a mini cut with a low stress environment and then maintain that. Do not if stress is or will be high for you. So guys, hopefully that's been helpful. Now you know what you should and should not be doing when mini cutting. And if you would like extra help with this, obviously we have our one-on-one online coaching with one of our coaches at Team Revive Stronger. Or if you would like a more cost-effective route where you're part of a group, you can also check out our mini cut movement group coaching, which is available for you to start at any time. And there's a bit of education, even more education actually, and helpful videos that are going to give you lots of help along the way to get the most out of the mini cut so you can get back into productive mass gaining again. And as always, thank you for listening. If you have any comments, any questions, if you haven't subscribed yet and you're listening this far in, you probably enjoy this content, definitely subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.